All right, everybody, it's Capper. I really hope you're still with me. We're on Chapter 7, Elements of a Typical Equity Structure. 1,000% I want you paying full attention. To me, this chapter is the bring it home chapter. The whole thing is going to come together, and we've gone over a lot so far, so just please stick with me. This is what takes you to the next level. So we're going to say Chapter 7 and equity structure. Okay, let's just get right into it. Remember, we talked about the stack, right? We'll call it the stack. Bank. I've said this 10 times. I want this to be ingrained in your head. Preferred equity. Remember, these guys are set. Let's give them a good percent. I say this every time, right? We got to help our pref boys out. All right, 9%. They get a 9% return. And what if the project does really, really, really well and it gets 50% IRR? Well, guess what those pref guys get? They only get 9. But they're exchanging, again, they're exchanging their preferred returns, they're exchanging those like extra benefits, the extra returns for the safety of being higher on the stack, meaning they get paid second, and then common. And how did we split up common? We split that up into LPs and the GPs. And remember, the LPs get paid first. Let's give them an 8% preferred return, meaning they get paid their 8% before the GPs, us, before we get paid. Now, there's another way, okay, and this was the dual tranche setup. The existence of pref equity makes it dual tranche. Now, what if, let's get rid of pref equity, which I guess you could do this multi-class equity structure, which we're going to go over. You could do that and have pref equity. Let me just make this bigger. Sorry. I like our giant eraser. I'm just going to clean stuff up here for you. Does this make it more exciting, or am I moving too slow? No one's ever accused me of moving too slow, so I don't think it's that. Pref. Common, LP, GP. Okay. Now, look at this. We can make it with, we can keep the pref guys there. You can do what I'm about to do, which is this multi-class equity structure with preferred equity as well. But look at this. Let's just say for now, we're just going to do a standard non-dual tranche deal. We'll get rid of those guys. What if I have some big dog LPs? Okay. Oh, and by the way, nomenclature thing. When that pref is there, that's class A. I hate this nomenclature. I really hate it. That's class A, and this is actually class B, or however you want to call it. I don't think this is, I've never looked this up. I should look it up, but I don't think this is like a actual legal, like it has to be called class A and B. I wonder if you can brand your classes, which I'll get back to you on that one. We are going to brand our classes because I hate the nomenclature. In a dual tranche setup, again, remember preferred equity, they get their guaranteed returns. In a pref equity, aka dual tranche setup, that's class A and class B. Okay, well, guess what? It's also in a non-dual tranche setup. We're back to non-dual tranche, which is just the bank, the LPs, the guys putting the money down, and then us, the GPs. In a non-dual tranche, you can subdivide this up again. Class A, class, and I made this joke before. So what is this? Look here. Imagine, so you're trying to raise $1 million, right? We're going to raise $1 million, okay? We're going to raise $1 million, and you got a big dog, okay? There's bigger dogs out there, but we'll just call them the big dog, right? So your regular dogs, woof, they're given 100, right? 100, not 100 million. That's a big dog. They are giving 100K, but then you got your big dog, right? He's given 500K. Oh, hey, bud. He wants to give a lot, right? So that guy is saving you a lot of time. You don't have to deal with investors. And he's a big dog. So you can divide this up into class A and class B. So let's look here. This makes it a little bit free t-shirt. I put that in there. So class A is your standard LP, and they reverse these by, well, whatever. Class A feels fancier, but class B is actually better. Again, nomenclature, annoying. But class A is your standard guy, right? He gives 100K, standard LP, he gets his 8% preferred return, right? He gets paid before the GP. And you have this dual IRR structure. Remember, this tiered IRR structure where, remember how it works is they get their 8% first. This is assuming the returns, the IRR is over 8%. The regular investor gets their 8% first. And then after that 8%, they split it 70-30 with the GP. That's finally I get paid. God help me, up to 15% IRR. Then I'm a GP. I'm like, I killed this deal. I got you 30% IRR. Give me a little something extra, right? And then so there's like all these tiers, right? Up until 8, I get nothing. I did a crap job. From 8 to 15, we're splitting it 70-30. I'm getting a little extra 30. And then above 15%, I am getting from 15 all the way up to the 30 that we got. We're splitting that distribution 50-50. So nice. That's that kind of tiered setup. So this Class A guy is getting that 70-30 up until 15% and then 50-50 greater than 15%. Now your big dog, so who has a minimum of 500K, okay, he gets 9% pref, okay, and instead of having this tiered thing, he always stays 70-30. Ooh, big dog. This ends up getting a higher IRR, right? This guy ends up getting a better IRR because, again, he doesn't go down to 50-50. And he has that better downside protection because he has that 9% preferred return instead of the 8. Now, do you want to be Class A or B? Haha. Well, it doesn't matter that much, right? Because of the following. I am the one. These guys are pari passu. Pari passu. If that's spelt wrong, Ben can make fun of me, and I'll fix it in the next video. This is Latin for like step and step. So they're pari passu. They are distributed together. So where is this guy's? Remember, this was 8% pref. This is 9. And this guy says 70-30. That's coming from my equity, from that GP equity. Okay, so don't worry, Class A, which is the word, not as good of a class. Again, it's like this branding thing. I hate it. Like, we can brand it as little dog. Did I say this in the other video? Little dog, big dog. Class LD, Class BD. I don't know. You get the point, though, that to this extra benefit, that extra 1% of preferred return and the extra, above the 15%, the fact that GP is not getting that 50-50, they're still sticking at 70-30. That's actually coming from the GP, though. So don't worry. In this dual multi-class structure, it is not hurting the Class A guys, the small dogs. Don't worry about it. It's all coming from the GP. Now, stick with me here because we're going to get, pari passu. Did I spell it right? Yes, I already had it there. Cool. All right, we're going to keep going. This is what I said here. Enhanced pref and the lack of a tier do not affect the Class A guys. It comes directly from the GP promote. What's GP promote mean? Remember, that's just their fancy way of, I don't like saying fancy way. It belittles the listener. It's like, dude, it's not that fancy. I can tolerate it. But again, I go back to the Gish Gallop concept. It's a way of saying, you know what? It's kind of like a, what's it called? Where you make something sound nicer than it really is. I forget the term for that, but it's like a nice way of saying the GP profit, right? Oh, the promote. Like, oh, that's the money I'm getting. Like, don't mix it up. Don't get it twisted here. That promote is me getting money, the GP. Why we do these deals. So let's keep chugging along here. Let's go into the fees. And I mean, this is bringing it home. This is all the way home for the structure. we are at the full tier. You got the bank, you got the pref equity, you got the common divided into LP and GP, you got the preferred return, that 8% of the LP, and then you subdivide Class A, Class B if you're a little dog or a big dog. It's not terribly complex once you get it down, once you understand how that cash flows down the stack. Let's talk about fees real quick. These fees are important. And I just love, what's our guy's name again? Rob. I just love how Rob talks about these fees. God, he's just, you can tell the way the guy thinks. He's very analytical, a little bit dry, Rob, on the narration of the book, bud. 100% buy this book. Structuring, Raising Debt and Equity for Real Estate. Only critique is Rob's narration's a tad dry. He narrated it himself. Rob, I'm just jabbing at you because again, you've heard me say this book is so good so many times. I got to just joke around a little bit. So anyways, I love how Rob talks about these fees because you can tell, and this is so refreshing. And maybe it's refreshing in that it's refreshing to see a sponsor so transparent and so thoughtful towards its investors. And why? Well, because it's a competitive landscape, for one. And two, I have seen the guys that succeed. Well, there's a couple of guys out there that succeed that are a little scummy. I think you know who they are. You can join their course and 10x their revenue, 100x your revenue. But other than, these kind of guys that are, those types of crew, there's the legit sponsors that I really appreciate. And seeing Rob talk about the fees, or hearing him talk about the fees, you can tell he thinks about his investors. And let's just dig into it and you'll see what I mean here. I'll stop ranting. So the fees, acquisition fee. And what's the point of these fees? Well, you kind of wonder that when you're getting a mortgage. Like, do we really need the fee? It's like a fee for calculating all the fees. The fee. Like, that's the worst one. You don't want that. So the acquisition fee, and I'll take another step back before I go into them. As a sponsor, aka a GP, aka a KP, as a sponsor, like, I actually need these fees. We talked about in the other video how a sponsor may be fee-centric or may care more about the fees than the deal. So you do got to watch out for that. But to do what we do, to hire our entire team to underwrite these deals, to literally pay for what we do, it definitely costs us significant amounts of money. Putting these deals together is not easy. The legal structure, the holding costs of running these deals, putting these down payments, all these things are absolute real costs. So Rob mentions kind of industry standard fee numbers and watching out if they're not standard. So acquisition fee, that's 1 to 3% of the purchase price, or it could be 1 to 3% of the total construction price. A little bit of a different thing there, but you get the point. That compensates us, the sponsor, for putting the deal together. The capital placement fee, that's 2 to 5% of the equity amount. So how much money was, that equity is also known as the raise, right? That's the definition of equity. How much equity do you have in the property? It's how, on day one, it's pretty much how much money you put down for the loan. That compensates the person who helped raise the equity. The loan guarantor fee, this is the guy that signs on that loan. And oftentimes you might need a high net worth individual. This compensates them. And that's a real thing. And there is a loan. It is common to see a loan guarantor fee on both recourse and non-recourse loans. The asset management fee, absolutely important. These are, to me, I look at it from the GP side. Those are my operations costs. So I have this facility. I'm sending you investor updates. I'm reviewing the facility. I'm talking to banks. I'm getting new, and this isn't the asset management fee of the actual property. That is much higher when it comes to self-storage. To run these things, you got your boots on the ground guy, you got your electric, you got all these different things that come into the management of the facility, operating the computers on the back end, the call center, all that. That's the self-storage management. This is just management of the asset, and that's just, again here, 1% to 2%. But what does that allow me to do as a sponsor? A lot. Right? It allows me to understand this asset, to do more studies on it, to maybe hire a contractor and try to see if there's some other play here where I can expand it. It allows me to staff my entire back end office to prep for the sale, like all these different things. If you want, I can give you a big, long lecture and tell you what we do, how we're structured on the back end. Oh, that's the most exciting thing. I enjoy it, and managing our entire team. Here we'll say, I gotta draw here, right? Or you guys get bored. There's me, our entire team. We have like an accountant guy. He's on Excel. Oh my God, look at this guy. Look at this spreadsheets, right? We got the account. So we can go into all that. Yay. We can go into all that during a different video, but suffice to say, yes, we're actively managing these things. Then the less standard fees, Rob mentions this in the book, fees that you gotta kind of watch out for. They might be indicative of a high fee load. The refinance fee paid to the partnership, the fee for when you refinance the deal. And although there is, alternatively put, depending on the size of the deal, especially if it's a smaller deal, these fees can be a little more reasonable in that it costs money to do all these things. The disposition fee to get ready to sell the thing. All of these are important. All right, let's look now at the waterfall. We talked about this once. We're going to talk about it again. Remember our preferred return. You know that concept. Bank. Going back to it. Let's just do common. Let's forget common. Okay. LP. Let's not talk about pref equity right now. What is the preferred return? We said this is the 6 to 9%. We'll just put it at 8% that the LPs get paid before the GPs. Now, very, very, very important. This 8% can be compounding or non-compounding. So imagine this scenario. Do you remember from one of the other videos I gave you this? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 year. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Let's bring it out. Heck, who cares? 7, 8, 9, 10. So during these years, cash flow is going to be very low, right? In assuming a ground up self-storage deal. Let's just take one of our ground up self-storage deals, say our Tennessee deal. It is going to have low cash flow. You're leasing it up. So you're not going to probably hit this 8%. And remember the concept of how do the LPs get paid back? Cash flow, and then sale / refi. Okay, that's how you're getting your money. Your exit is your cash flow and your sale and refi. That's your only exit. And kind of your payback of your initial capital, but that's part of this sale / refi. Although if your cash flow is big, heavy, it does pay you back too. Point is that what if during these years you're only cash flowing 4%, 7%, finally hit your 8%. Well, you're supposed to be getting 8%, right? Well, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, you're missing an entire 4%. -4. Isn't that how they do it in Excel? -1 parentheses mean negative. I should delete. Is that the right term here? If it's got parentheses, that means it's already negative in Excel. I don't know. I'm not an Excel spreadsheet, and I'm not a large language model that has internalized Excel spreadsheets into my neural net. So you're losing, or you're not hitting your 8% these years. So if you don't have a compounding, we'll just highlight it here, compounding preferred return, then tough luck, Chuck. But the way that we set up deals, and I think the way deals should be set up, but again, as long as you're transparent with your investors, it doesn't really matter how you set up deals. If people are good with it, they're good with it. But that being said, I prefer to invest in deals, and we like to set up our deals so that the returns are compounding. This year, you only got 4% returns. So that 4 that you lost, that gets carried over to the next years or to the sale. So compounding. Does that make sense? It's 8%, and they're looking back. So, yeah. Another thing. Remember, you can do secondary hurdles. After the preferred return is set, then the profit sharing kicks in. We talked about that before. What are the standard numbers? Remember, we said after you hit your 8% preferred return, that is compounding, right? We like it to compound. Then it's 70-30. And of course, like we said, you can switch it to 50-50 after, say, 15% IRR, right? That's that. That's that hurdle, which makes it better for us. So let's talk a little bit about an example. Example deal, acquisition fee, 2% of the purchase price. So we'll say this is our best Lantern Light Capital deal. With Rob in the book, it's Rob's Lone Star Capital deal. We'll make it a Lantern Light Capital deal. Acquisition fee, 2% of the purchase price. Asset management fee. Acquisition fee, 2%. Asset management, asset MGMT, 2% of revenue. Okay. Preferred return, pref. Again, this is for our common equity, not for preferred equity. Remember, that's the stack. We've gone through the stack a bunch of times. 8% plus 100% return of investment. Maybe ROI is not I guess that's the right term. 8%, and you get your money back. So if you put in 100K, you should get, by the end of year 3, you should get 100K plus your 8% IRR. Okay, does that make sense? Of course, you got to get your money back, or it's not even a real return. Remember, again, going back to cumulative cash flow, remember that includes the cash flow and the sale. How do you exit? You exit with the cash flow and the sale. Are you with me? Do you want to power through the rest of this lecture? Please stick with me. We're almost there. That was the first half. This is the chunkiest of the chunk. If there was a lecture to listen to, this is the one. Let's do it one more time, because you know what? I'm going to send this pref, and then common, LP. I'm going to send this to, and those LPs can be class A, class B. That's our 500K. I'm going to send this lecture. This will be the main big dog lecture. So, another interesting scenario. So think about this. Some structures consider the payback through a refi as a way for the GP to buy out the LPs. I've seen this before. What does that mean? Well, remember how you exit, right? Cash flow, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You're cash flowing every single year, right? And then you can refi. Well, some of these setups say, so you're an LP, you own whatever percent. When we refi on year 5, obviously if you sell at year 5, everybody sells and we all exit and we all get our money. But what if you refi? Because in a way that's kind of like selling to yourself, or that's not the perfect way to put it, but what if you refi? Well, some of these deals are set up so that a refi buys out the LPs and pays them back. They're 8%, preferred return or whatever. Maybe it's even better. They're 100K they put in, and that big proceed from the refi proceed. Does that sound good to you? Being bought out? Maybe. You get a bunch of cash in your hand, but you know what? It's not the best, because now the GP takes the entire deal for themselves. The they bought you out. Now, some folks might want to exit. And I guess, is this the worst structure? No. And it gets back to the mantra, which is do what's right and know your customer. This is a very common question with these investors, LPs that are going in on this for the first time. It's like, well, how do I get my money back? Well, you get it back through cash flow, you get it back through sale, and you can get it back through refi. Now, the question is, during that refi, are you bought out of the deal? And think about it like this. If you get bought out, that's okay. You got all your money back. It's not the worst thing, but it's a little bit unfair. Because think about it. When is the deal the riskiest? It's riskiest here, year 1, 2, 3. And now it's on year 5, 6, 7, 8. Now what is this? This is a stabilized asset. Stabilized cash flowing asset. Of course, there's some risk that the entire market could tank, AI can take over, blah, blah, blah. A new self-storage facility can come in the area. So yes, there's still some risk always with any investment. Remember my intro rant, you're always investing. But the real risk is year 1, 2, 3 as you're leasing up, right? And that there's some major construction issue or there's some lease up issue. That's the major issue. So to get bought out as an LP, all your money's out and you no longer own it as a LP is a tad bit unfair because you held all the risk and you don't get to reap the benefits of the stabilized returns. That said, you get all your money out of the deal, and technically it's technically fair. You're getting it all paid back. Just something to be aware of. That entire concept of, well, during exit, during a refi, because what if you want to refi? A refi could just be a good move overall. You might refi 1, 2, 3 times in a deal, depending on the market, depending on your loans, depending on all the other business options out there with other companies that you have. So you might want to refi and you don't necessarily want to get bought out as an LP. So that's the first concept. Second concept. So what is the term for this? How could we call this? So refi buyout. Because what's the real benefit of these deals is that you put in, as an LP, you put in $100K, okay? You're getting mid-tier cash flow for year 1, 2, 3. This is a self-storage deal I'm kind of talking about, right? Some things are steady cash flow and that's it. There's no value add. But self-storage deals typically have a very large value add component. So you're getting mid-tier cash flow, and that's literal cash in your pocket. I don't, personally as an LP, when I do LP deals, I don't care that much about cash flow. Some people, if you have $10 million and you're a FIRE person, financial independence, retire early, and you have your 10 million and you want to take 5 million of it and 5 million's in the market and the other 5 million you want to put into heavy cash flow assets, then you're a cash flow investor. I'm not necessarily a cash flow investor. And especially I'm not going to go in on a value add deal if I need cash flow year 1, 2, 3. It's going to flow nice and chunkily after that, but not on 1, 2, 3. God, are you guys having like a stroke from my drawings? Now, let's keep going here. What is this concept of promote crystallization? Interesting. So in this scenario, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. These are the intro years. These are the fully stabilized years, and 4 is like some intermediary. We'll add 4 to the intro. So cash flow, low cash flow. And remember, if your cash flow is below 8%, the GPs don't get money. So as a GP, I'm not making money here. No money, right? Because it's just mostly cash flow. Then I refi. Well, what if you don't really want to sell or refi? What if that's not necessarily in the best interest of the facility? Well, as a GP, I would be somewhat unfairly incentivized. Oh, let's sell at year 5. Let's sell at year 5. But that might not be what's best for our investors. And so there's some friction there because I got to refi at some point. I got to start making some money as a GP, right? Because I haven't really been making it here because remember, you get paid first up to that 8%. It's just, what the heck? Let me make some money. So there's this concept of promote crystallization. Because I'm going to push as a GP, I'll be like, man, I really let's just sell this asset and move on to the next. Which if the GP tells you our goal is a 5-year exit, then fine. I've invested as an LP where I'm like, man, I wish these guys would just hold on to this thing forever. I already made all my returns. I just want to hold this asset. No, they're going to sell it. And now I'm going to have to go out and redeploy all this capital or 1031 exchange. It's a whole ordeal. I just want to keep my capital in this deal. Alas, whatever. They're not going to do that. This concept of promote crystallization helps deal with that. So what happens is on year 5, hypothetically, let's say, instead of selling the facility, you hold a hypothetical, we'll call it a fake sale. So you find like a broker or an appraisal, and initially you were, say, 80-20 with the LP, right, GP split. Okay, you sell this facility. And remember, the other thing was with the LP GP, the LP is always getting paid first, right? You hypothetically sell the facility or refi the facility. You take those hypothetical proceeds and you give them to the GP who is owed them, because that's one of our main exits. Because remember, GPs weren't making a lot of money here with the cash flow. We make a lot of our money on the exit. So you do a hypothetical sell. What does that result in? That results in a reallocation of the equity, 70-30. Then the LPs get to keep that equity in perpetuity, and the GPs now get their little cash out, if you will, by increasing their equity there. And now these two are pari passu. Right now, there's basically no difference between GP and LP equity. They're fully the same thing, and everybody is just now on the same footing, which I think is super cool. It's a little complex. It can get complex as far as like the appraisal. How do you agree upon the appraisal guy? Whatever. Here's the example. Sponsor invests $50K into a 90-10 split. So $50K into a 90-10 split. That's the initial amount down, right? So $50K. They put in 50 here. And then what's that times 9? They had to do a $5 million raise in this particular example. So they put in, which is 10% of the total equity, right? Receives maybe that number's a little bit off, but whatever, you get my point. No, that's 10%, sorry. They receive a $500K promote in the event of a sale. Remember, where does this guy make his money back? The GP, aka me. I get it during the sale mostly, because in years 1, 2, 3, 4, low cash flow. All right. So we do the fake sale and we readjust stuff. And so instead of 90-10, we'll do 80-20, and life is good. We're chugging along. This motivates the sponsor to stay in the deal and keep doing a good job and not just dump off the deal. Everybody wins. Downside, complexity. This is directly from Rob. I love this statement. He says, I personally believe that the crystallization, it's called crystallization, this fake sale concept, should be done at a slight discount. And it just shows, what does that mean? Well, if the key difficulty is in this appraisal, right? Because if it is in the GP's, my best interest to say, well, this facility really isn't worth that much. So instead of going from 90-10 to 80-20, we go from 90-10 to 70-30. I get from 10 to 30, right? But it's in my best interest to say that it's worth a lot, right? I said that the wrong way. It's in my best interest to fake sell the facility for a lot of money, and I get more here. But what Rob says is he believes the crystallization should be done at a slight discount, aka benefiting the LPs, which every statement Rob says in this entire book is just him basically saying, give the benefit of the doubt to the LPs, treat your investors right, know your customer. And that's my mantra as well. Treat your investors right, know your customer. He says, I personally believe that the crystallization period, good spelling, should be done at a slight discount to the appraised value, right? Because, well, one, it's right for like in a scenario where you and your investors are at like odds, because that's the whole point of all this, by the way. I say odds, but we're trying to benefit each other. We're trying to set up structures that are fair for everybody. That odds isn't the right term, but like where there's friction or there's that's the definition of conflict of interest, right? The two parties are have different interests. In the scenario where there's friction or conflict of interest, because that's what the crystallization is trying to solve. It's trying to say, me as a GP, I just want to sell the thing, but really it's best for the LPs to hold on to this forever. And so let's figure out a way that we can. That's what crystallization does. He says, well, when you set the price, that fake sale price of the crystallization, do it in the benefit of the LPs. If you want to say just to benefit the LPs because it's the right thing to do, aka you do what's right for your investors because they're your customers. They're the guys that we're working for, and we have to show them that. So you always do, oh my gosh, I'm going to make a little extra money off my LPs, and then they're not going to invest in the next deal down the line. So you can look at it from a doing what's right standpoint. You can look at it from a good customer support and return customer standpoint. And then finally, Rob also says, it's also should be at a slight discount because the ease of the transaction. It's the easiest sale ever because it's a fake sale. You get one appraisal, and it's done. So it's like it is a fake, my fingers get in there, fake sale. And it's an easy sale, so it should be done at a slight discount, right? It's kind of like an all-cash offer. All-cash offers are typically less than asking price because they're easy as it gets. And a fake sale is about the easiest sale you can do. And then he also goes on to mention that either party, it's year 5, either party can say, we don't like the promote crystallization concept. Let's sell it. It's fine. Let's make our big exit and go party on our yachts. Right? Yacht. How do you draw a yacht? Yacht. Party. Okay. All right. This is like my version of here in my garage, right? Is this as good as Tayo Lopez with his Lambo? I don't know. Do you have a rudder? What is that called? This is a great drawing. Anyways, everybody, I got distracted by drawing sailboats. Hopefully you enjoyed this absolutely intense lecture. Hopefully I kept it exciting and you understand the basics here. Feel free to reach out to me anytime. Let's see. Let me make sure I give you my correct phone number. Feel free to reach out anytime. My email is jordan@lanternlightcap.com. My direct number is 484-228-1242. That is my business cell. I keep it on me at all times. 484-228-1242. Let's run some deals, baby. Wishing you all the very best. God bless.